Iowa defeating Northwestern 82-61 here. I apologize for the slight delay, but recapping what was a very impressive performance against a Northwestern team that I thought played very uninspired. We will be joined by Coach Gary Close here momentarily, and we will open the call lines open. We will open it up, if I can speak. We'll open up the call line after Close gets off the phone. So let me just make sure that Gary's good to go here, and we'll get to your comments while we're waiting for Gary to call in. It was senior night, so of course Jordan Bohannon, we assume his final game played, right? Unless he finds a way to come back for a seventh year. Austin Ash, it felt like he was moving on, and I've kind of assumed that throughout this season that he probably is not going to head back for another year. Now, maybe he transfers somewhere else. Is that possible? I think he technically could. I have no idea if that's in his mindset right now. But the bottom line is Iowa took care of business. I didn't think Iowa played tremendously well on either side, but they did what they should have done against a Northwestern team that I thought played below average. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the win. I thought Northwestern was flat out bad in that first half. I thought they were terrible. And if you watch this show, I'm going to speak my mind. I thought Northwestern was terrible in the first half. Better in the second half. No question about it. I thought Chris Collins made some nice adjustments for that second half, but you can't dig yourself a 20-something lead at halftime and expect to be able to make a comeback. So Iowa took care of business. It's exactly what you wanted to see heading into a very important final two games of the year, because you're at Michigan, you're at Illinois, and certainly Iowa losing to both of those teams at home. So it's going to be a tall order to continue this winning streak, but Iowa doing what it needs to do right now, and that's all you can ask for. Let's get to your comments here while we're waiting for Coach Close to join us. Thank you for this, Raymond. I appreciate this comment. He says they let the students in for free, and it was packed because of that tonight. That's what Corey wanted. There were a lot of students here, Raymond. I'll say this, and I want to talk about it more once Gary's off, but I want to make it clear that I was disappointed with the fan attendance tonight. And you're not going to hear that from maybe other people will talk about that. I know Fran McCaffrey was very complimentary during his post-game interview with Gary and Bobby. He was very complimentary of the crowd, and I understand that. He's why wouldn't you be complimentary of a crowd that did show up? But I was disappointed that it wasn't packed. I understand it was packed yesterday for the women. Why is it so hard to pack an arena when it's 50 to 55 degrees outside all day? It's a 7:00 tip-off. The students are not on vacation. The students are being let in for free. Senior night, Bohannon's had all kinds of, whether you like Jordan or not, he's set all kinds of records as a Hawkeye. Austin Ash is a favorite. Connor McCaffrey, I think he's coming back, but we don't know that. I just was a little bit disappointed by that. And you can say I'm nitpicking. I was at the game, so, and I know I'm not normally at these games. I get that. So if people want to criticize me for not being at the games, I understand that. I don't live in Iowa City, though. That's a factor. And I would have to think that there were a lot of people that stayed home in Iowa City. But the people that were there were very, very loud, very energetic. It helped having Austin Ash hit that late three. That certainly helped the cause. But overall, just again, the atmosphere was very good. I don't know what the official attendance was. My guess it was somewhere between 13,500 and 14,000 would be my guess. I'm not a great judge of attendance, especially in Carver, but that would be my guess. But Raymond, you're right. I think that needs to continue, and it won't. I would be shocked if it does. I think it should. Iowa should let students in for free. That's the correct way of doing this. They don't like doing it. I understand that, but boy, that would be nice if they could continue to let students in for free, because it does give incentive to a student body that's been a bit disconnected from this program, at least in my opinion. Lomansky agrees. Absolutely. Let them in. And we've got some time now for the university to really examine this in the off season, because they're not playing they're not playing at home. They ain't going to they're in the tournament, folks. They lose out, they're in the tournament. They lose to Michigan, Illinois, and lose in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. They are in. Iowa is officially a lock for the tournament. Argue with me if you want. There's no I thought they were a lock before this game, quite frankly, but to blow out Northwestern, they did exactly what they needed to do. But my point is they will not be back home. So the university has time now to figure out how to give incentive to these students. And I've said it for a long time. Let them in for free. I don't know why we can't reconfigure seating to give them a better spot in the arena. That's a factor as well. But I did appreciate the fact that they were let in for free tonight. Vincent, bring up Connor McCaffrey finding his shot as tournament time approaches. Yeah, let's just hope he can continue. He is actually, I'd be curious to look back, and I haven't done this. I'd be curious to look back at his track record as it relates to the three-point shot, specifically comparing his away games versus his home games. I think he struggled more at home, and it seems like he's felt more pressure at home, and he's had more success. Penn State's a perfect example, shooting the three on the road. I believe he got it going a year ago against Michigan State on the road as well. And I know there was no crowd there a year ago. But my point is, I think Connor is starting to round into form even at home, and that's an excellent sign. I know they're not going to be back at home, but I think his confidence is pretty high right now. I don't know how many threes I'll have to look at the box score here in a moment, but he had to have taken 6 threes in this game. Good to have you here, Ari Gold. Charles Parr. Wasn't aware of the Patrick McCaffrey injury. Can anyone fill me in? Is it something that should keep him out an extended period of time? The university called it day-to-day. And thank you, Jared, for explaining that. But yes, day-to-day as far as I'm aware. And I believe we have Coach Gary Close on the line. Gary, can you hear me?
Yeah, Corey, how you doing?
I am doing wonderful. An impressive Hawkeye victory, and a victory that was, avoiding what would have been a bad loss, but sending the students, the senior student athletes and the student managers out on the right note. What were your thoughts?
Oh, my goodness. I don't know if it could have been scripted any better, to tell you the truth. Between playing pretty well and winning the game convincingly, to manager hitting that shot, Nash hitting the shot, couldn't have been better. Gary,
your son is a manager on this team, and I forget the young man who hit the name of the young man that hit the half court shot, but has your son, Sam, has he talked at all about him? I know he's been an inspiration to the whole team.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And that's why it was so cool. You left the apartment. I'm walking up the top of the stairs at Carver.
We tend to catch you when you're doing that, Gary, and I don't want you to hyperventilate. It's a trick.
No, I'm good. Okay. I made it to the top. But they've been working with him all week to get him ready, and he delivered.
Wow. For anybody who didn't see that, I don't know I'd love for somebody to comment this in the chat. I don't know if it was shown on television, but it was his second attempt from half court, and he nailed it. I mean, you could tell you can tell he'd been practicing that, Coach.
Yeah, and it's, you can't ask for anything better. The team mobbed him, Fran mobbed him. He'll remember that the rest of his life.
I haven't seen Fran mob anybody, and we've seen last-second shots, game-winning shots, and that was a good display of them. I'm glad to see Fran kind of let his I don't want to call it a front. It's not a front, but let his serious personality kind of go for a moment, and you can just tell how much they love him. So
yeah. Well, senior night is a tough night, and for it to go as well as it did, obviously you want to win the game. That's the most important thing. But you want your seniors to go out, on a high note, and Jordan played terrific. Connor played terrific. I don't know if it's going to be his last game, but he was honored as a senior, and they played better and better as the game went on, and they just keep beating people soundly, and hopefully they can just keep that direction going as they get into some more competitive games, and then the Big Ten tournament, and then of course the big dance.
Absolutely. Let's talk about Keegan Murray here for a second. 26-18. I thought he started slow. And the friends that I was with at the game made the same comment that it seemed like Keegan had started a bit slow. But boy, to erupt for 26-18, this is what he does. What did you see from Keegan tonight?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I thought he did get off to a little bit of a slow start. Sometimes, you're trying to make things happen, and that can cause that. And then he finally started to settle in, and the last 25, 30 minutes, he was just phenomenal. And I'm guessing that's his last game on the floor. And 26-18 is not a bad way to go out.
Certainly is not. How about Connor McCaffrey tonight, Gary? I mean, we've talked about him, but his 3-point stroke, he was 5 of 9, 9 3-point attempts tonight. And I think that would, honestly, that might be the bigger stat here. You could argue the 5 makes are more significant, but the fact that he was willing to take 9 threes, there was a time earlier this season, Coach, where Connor wouldn't take almost any threes, even if they're wide open, and he seems to be riding with confidence right now.
Yeah, well, shooters need confidence, and I'm sure he's worked hard on his game, and you start seeing the ball go through, and then that's really all it takes. And he shot all those shots with a lot of confidence, and boy, that's just another weapon. And he does so many other things on the court in terms of defending and passing, and not making any mistakes. He's good with the ball. That his offensive production is an added bonus. So one less guy that you can lay off of. So couldn't pick a better time to be doing that.
And then the third guy in double figures, Jordan Bohannon with 18 points. Took 11 threes, made 4 of them. I mean, not the best shooting night in the world for Jordan, but I keep saying this. If he's making threes and you add in Peyton Sandford, who had a quiet night as well, but then you add into that the fact that you've got Chris Murray and now Connor McCaffrey making threes, to me, having that fourth guy in Connor to complement guys like Jordan just takes this team, it gives this team a much higher ceiling. How important is it to have an extra guy like Connor to be able to make threes once we get to tournament time?
Oh, it's great. I mean, the more threats you got out there, the more defense has got to get spread out, and less guys that can be laying off people hanging around Keegan. So it just opens it up not only for Keegan but other guys as well. So I thought Jordan played well. A couple threes he had to take with the shot clock winding down that he had no choice and weren't high percentage shots. But the ones where he got the real good looks, he was pretty much spot on.
And we've talked about a bunch of positives, and I just want to make one note. This is an honest assessment. I think you would probably agree, but I'd like to get your thoughts, Gary. I thought Northwestern was really bad tonight, especially in that first half. I have not seen a performance like that from any Northwestern team, because normally Chris Collins has those guys ready to play and they're competitive. That was about as bad of a first half as I've seen out of a Big Ten team. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I would agree. It looked like they didn't want to be there,
yeah.
Which surprised me. But this time of the year, you can run into that. When there's not a whole lot to play for, but hopefully they can regroup and show better for themselves when the tournament runs around. But when losses pile up, it gets tough. Trust me, it's not an easy thing to deal with.
So just to run through the stats before we let you go, Coach, this 39% from the field for the Hawkeyes, 38% for Northwestern, but Iowa dominating on the glass, 50 to 35, 50 rebounds for the Hawks. As far as turnovers are concerned, Iowa with 11, but 15 for Northwestern. A lot of those were unforced. But Coach McCaffrey actually hit it on the head. I mean, the post-game interview with Gary Dolphin, when Iowa can force turnovers, which is, of course, sometimes are unforced, but oftentimes a result of aggressive and also, just sound defense, just fundamental defense, it helps them get in transition. Defensively, let's kind of reevaluate this team. We've had a few more games to kind of look at them. We haven't really talked specifically about Iowa's progress defensively. I know it's hard to judge against a Northwestern team that, again, I didn't think looked very good, but what have you seen over the past month from Iowa, and are they ready to potentially take a next step in the tournament?
Well, they're definitely improved. I don't think there's any question. They're a better defensive team, maybe the best defense they've played in quite a while.
Yeah, I agree.
Certainly this year. So, that bodes well. I mean, that's you're going to get into more half-court situations. You're going to get into more grinding type games. There's more pressure with it, one and done, once you get into tournament play. So your defense can carry, your defense can keep you in games, your defense can, help you sustain shooting slumps or, little breaks where you're not hitting it. So it's encouraging. Hopefully they can continue along that path.
Okay, Coach. So Michigan coming up. Iowa obviously losing to the Wolverines last time out. That was honestly, and I'd have to look back at the schedule, and I wouldn't be surprised if Fran would agree with this. I think Iowa's going to come out ready to play in Ann Arbor, because I really don't think they like how they played against Michigan last time out. And of course, it was that game that kind of seemed to electrify them into motion for this streak that they've gone on. from what you remember, of course, they struggled containing Diabate. How does Iowa get it done in Ann Arbor this time around?
Well, I think it'd be important for them, being on the road to get off to a good start. And you do that with sound offensive possessions as well as defensive possessions. And, they're going to face a Michigan team that's desperate. They need more wins to get into the tournament. So they're going to have to play well to beat them because this is a really, really important game for Michigan. Actually, it's an important game for Iowa. They're looking up at Ohio State. They're not, they got a chance to get into that fourth spot if Ohio State should stumble. So there's a lot to play for. It should be a great game.
And I just want to ask you one more thing about Michigan because we haven't had a chance to really talk about it on this show. But the Juwan Howard incident resulting in a 5-game suspension for Juwan, which I thought was appropriate. I don't agree with the pundits that say he should have been suspended for the postseason as well. I think 5 would suffice. What I don't agree with, Gary, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this, what I don't agree with is giving each player that was involved in the incident, specifically the guys who were throwing haymaker punches, giving each of those guys a game apiece. To me, it was a bad look for the Big Ten. To me, it looks like from the outside, and I'm not saying the Big Ten's doing this, but it looks like the Big Ten said, hey, we want Michigan to get into the tournament, and if we suspend both of these guys who are regular role players, Diabate has been one of their better players, then that hurts their chances. Am I wrong in saying that, and did you agree with the suspensions?
I thought they were pretty close, Corey. Yeah, I think the message was that they were really disappointed in the coaches, and that the coaches, what the leadership they showed affect their players reacted, and so that instead of penalizing them as much as maybe a little more, I think it was pretty sound suspensions, and hopefully the message has been sent, and we won't see any more of that.
Are you surprised that there was no suspension for Greg Gard?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Just watching the video, I thought there was a chance, but that's the decision they made, and it's hard to complain about a whole lot about it. I think it was pretty accurate.
All right, Coach. Well, I know you greatly enjoyed the game, and safe travels back to Wisconsin. Thank you for hopping on with us, and we'll be with you Thursday? Is that the next game? Thursday against Michigan.
Thursday, and I'll be in South Carolina. I'll be on the beach somewhere.
Thursday, you're in South Carolina on Thursday? Well, you're a traveling man.
Yeah. There you go. All
right, Coach.
So we'll look forward to it.
Take care, travel safe, and we'll talk to you soon. All right. Appreciate I think we lost Coach there at the very last second, which is okay. Appreciate him jumping on with us. We are going to open up the call line. If you want to give us a call, go ahead. It's wide open, 515-635. That is the wrong banner. 515-635-1601. 515-635-1601. Drill MVP, if you're going to call, I love your calls, bud. I cannot sit here for 20 minutes and talk about brackets. Okay. We'll do a show. It's Drill MVP. We're going to do a live call-in show about the brackets. Okay. And speak of the devil, I think this is exactly who I just gave a shout out to. Is this the real MVP?
Yes, it is, Corey. Yes, it is.
Okay. You got my disclaimer, sir, right? I love you. You know I love you, but you got my disclaimer.
I did not hear anything you said after the phone lines are now open.
You were quick. You were like waiting for Coach to hang up, and then you were on it. You had it on. Are we on your speed dial?
Yes.
Okay. Are we ahead of Mark Rogers?
Or on the speed dial?
Am I ahead of Mark Rogers?
Bell. I called Mark yesterday, so no. Mine goes by order.
Okay, so here was the disclaimer when you were calling in. The only disclaimer I was going to say is for anybody that wants to call in to talk Hawkeyes, I'm fine with that. And I'm fine answering a question or two from you about the tournament. But I want to keep it largely Iowa because I want to tell you this. I'm going to do a bracketology show live here in the coming week or two. So save your college basketball back and forth for that. But I'm happy to talk to you about whatever you want to talk about as it relates to Iowa.
Okay, I'll talk about the Iowa game tonight against Northwestern. The first thing I would like to ask is, in the first half, I mean, you didn't expel any criticism to Coach Close, which may have been a first, to be honest with you, Corey. But in the first half, did it felt like Iowa was rushing when shooting the 3 ball? because I got that feeling that they were trying to go too fast, and it caused them to miss some open shots.
I think part of that could have been just the fact that it was Jordan's final game. He took 11 threes. I mean, he took 11 threes. He was 4 of 11 from 3. It's his final game in Carver. That may have been a factor. Might have been Keegan Murray's final game in Carver. We don't know that. Maybe perhaps he does. But I didn't think Iowa played all that great, to be completely honest. I thought Iowa played okay. I don't want to say lackluster. That might be a bit harsh, but I thought Iowa played okay in that first half. But listen, Northwestern was really bad tonight, and I am not trying to. Listen, this is one of my biggest pet peeves when I hear people.
Gave up.
Oh, they never started. At halftime, Northwestern made some adjustments and they played better in that second half. But I hate it when I hear Iowa people, and specifically media members, and I'm not ripping anybody in the media, I respect the Iowa media, but I hate when I hear Iowa media members constantly discrediting Iowa for everything. I mean, I hear Iowa beats Nebraska by 30, and a certain media member will say, "Oh, Nebraska's just terrible." Or same thing with Penn State. Penn State's not a good team. You're terrible. I heard a media member the other day on the radio say that there are, quote, a lot of bad teams in the Big Ten. And I just don't. I'm not going to rip this person.
There's like
five. I don't agree with that.
5 bad teams.
Well, what is bad? That's such a relative term. What is bad? Are we really
bad?
Really
I would consider Maryland bad. I would consider Penn State bad. I would consider Northwestern bad. Nebraska bad. Minnesota plays bad at times, but I don't think they're bad.
Okay,
Indiana plays bad at times. But I don't consider them bad.
You consider the team that just beat Ohio State by 15, Maryland, to be bad. That's a bad team.
Based on what I've seen this year, yes, that was a bad loss by Ohio State.
Well, it was a bad loss. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying it's not a bad loss, but
because they're a bad team. Maryland is a bad team. They looked like early on, like early February, that they gave up on the season. I mean, it was really bad.
You're right. They've had bad games. I mean, they got beat by Iowa. They lost to Iowa by 23. But I'm just saying they beat Ohio State by 15. They nearly knocked off Purdue in West Lafayette. They lost by 1 in that game. Nearly beat Michigan State, lost by 2. I just, you have the right to your opinion to say they're bad. I just don't. I don't agree with that. Almost beat Wisconsin as well. I would say this: Northwestern played terrible tonight. That's a fact. But I'm just saying in general. I'm not going to say that the Big Ten, that there's a bunch of bad teams in the Big Ten. First of all,
no.
You name 5 teams.
Conference.
If you want to make the argument that there are 5 bad teams, I'm fine with that. Penn State, Maryland, Northwestern, Minnesota, Nebraska. Now, all of those teams have proven that they can knock you off, especially the top 4. But everybody else, I think right now, is going to make the tournament. Now, maybe Michigan will play itself out. Maybe Indiana will. But I think everybody else is going to be in the tournament. So to say that there's a lot of bad teams in the Big Ten, I just don't agree with that. But you're not the one who said it. I'm not trying to rip you.
No. If that was an ACC media member, I would get that because they might get 2 teams in.
Yeah,
maybe 3.
Yeah.
I would consider that a bad conference.
I think it's and we're acting. I just hear people act like the Big Ten is. I mean, it's. I think you can basically say matter of factly, you're an SEC fan, but drill MVP. But SEC is not better than the Big Ten. It's not.
No, Big 12 1, Big 10 2, SEC 3.
I agree with you on that. Absolutely, you're 100% correct. And then I'd go ACC and then Pac-12. Maybe Pac-12. ACC is really.
I'd go Pac-12. I'd go Pac-12. The top teams I think are better than the top teams of the ACC. Like UCLA's good. Maybe even the Big East. Maybe even the Big East at 4.
No, the Big East is absolutely in the conference. Big East is better than both of those conferences. You're right. Look at us going off on a tangent, though. I apologize. Back to Iowa.
Yeah. So with the Iowa game today as well, you were talking about how they're a lock in the tournament. Does this, you think, it relaxes players, or are you worried about that? Because I think the Michigan losses you were alluding to kind of lit a fire on them. And I don't want them to fall back into complacency.
Well, I keep saying it, and I guess you can say it's a pessimistic fan in me, but they've still got 2 games. There's time to derail. Like, they could go into the NCAA tournament having lost 3 straight. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. But I also don't favor Iowa in either of the next 2 games. Now, maybe they'll go to Michigan and win. Maybe they'll go to Illinois and win. But right now, to me, the Michigan would be the favorite at home. I could be wrong on that one. Illinois will most definitely be the favorite at home against the Hawks.
Oh, yeah.
Iowa, they'll be playing a team that's capable of beating them in the first round of the Big Ten tournament. I'm just saying, it's great that Iowa had a great February, but now we move to March. So March is more important than February. We a lot of fans think that Iowa fades in February. That's not always the case. In fact, it's kind of a false narrative. But now we're hitting March, and this is where you want to see a team get hot. And Iowa right now is hot. You just got to sustain it. And it's again, much better competition and taking it on the road starting Thursday.
Oh yeah. Another thing I was going to ask you about is, do you think the motivation of the double bye versus the single bye, how important do you think that is for the Big Ten tournament?
It should be absolutely. That should be what Iowa's looking at right now. We can talk about seeding in the NCAA tournament. That's so subjective. Like, I mean, Jerry Palm, last I checked, has Iowa as a 10 and maybe a 9 now. But, you got Lunardi who has them as a 6. So, I mean, yeah, you win. You obviously know if you win more and you have quality wins, especially on the road, that you're going to have a chance to improve your seeding. But my point is, something tangible that Iowa can look at right now is the Big Ten Conference standings. And you're right, Ohio up by just a half game right now. 1 half game on Iowa. Iowa has the 2-team tiebreaker, right? They beat Ohio State. So right now, Ohio State doesn't have the toughest schedule to finish things off. They get Nebraska at home. They get Michigan State at home. They get Michigan at home. They could win all 3 of those, but they could also lose 2 of those. I could see them losing to Michigan State or Michigan. Michigan State is so up and down right now. If you're Iowa, you win out. I think they've got a good chance of getting a double bye. And if you had told me that a month ago that Iowa would be in a position to be top 4 in the Big Ten and earn a double bye, I'd have called you crazy. But they're in a position now to do it.
And another thing I was going to ask you is, do you think maybe the upsets that happened on Saturday, do you think for this game, it helped the coach kind of set them down and say, hey, listen, all these teams that are really good, they all lost to inferior teams. So we can go out there and lose to Northwestern. And you think that contributed to how they just suffocated them for the start?
I think they're just overmatched. I don't know that I'd go that far, sir. I could be wrong, but I think they're just overmatched. And I think it seemed to all of us that were watching there at the game, it seemed like Northwestern didn't believe they could win this game from the tip. I mean, it just didn't seem like they could. And I thought Nebraska played a lot more inspired. We didn't have the call line open Friday. Did you watch our show Friday from Lincoln?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you and you had the announcer. Yeah, I forget.
Yeah, we had Jess Settles on. Yeah,
it was a great show.
But no, that was a perfect example. Nebraska played inspired, and then Nebraska came back and destroyed Penn State. Nebraska's actually playing inspired right now. I'm concerned with Northwestern, but no, I thought Northwestern had checked it in before the game started. It seemed like. Now I give him credit. Chris Collins seemed to be able to light a fire under him at halftime, but there's no way you're going to come back from that deficit. I mean, Iowa led at one point in this game by 30. No, the game was over in the first. I thought it was over in the first 5 minutes. You could just tell Northwestern had nothing going.
Okay, and the final question I'll ask before I make a statement is, Iowa, what are the odds they make the finals of the Big Ten? I know that's crazy, but if they get the double bye, it's not.
I wouldn't discount it. If you get a double bye, all you got to do is win 2 games, which is tough because you're going to have 2 tough games. But here's the deal. Fran has never won more than 1 game in the Big Ten tournament all time. I believe he's something like 7-14 in the Big Ten tournament. That's not good. So I have to see it before I'll believe it. Certainly getting the double bye helps. Right now, if the tournament were to be today, I believe, they're the 5 seed, so they would probably get Minnesota or Northwestern in the first round, I think, or not the first round.
I think it's Minnesota, Indiana, right now.
Minnesota, Indiana.
I think it's still a win either way.
Well, it wouldn't be Indiana. Indiana's the 8 seed right now. 9 seed. It would be. I think it would be. I'd have to look at the bracket. I think it'd be Northwestern, Minnesota. But my point is, I would favor them in that game. And then they play Ohio State, who they beat on the road. So I think they've, even if they stay at the 5 seed, they've got a decent draw if things stay on course, which they may not.
They will not. They will not.
Yeah, Michigan State right now is right behind Iowa and Ohio State. And honestly, Rutgers isn't far behind. They're 10-8. So, a lot still to play out here. But I can speak for a lot of fans. I just want to see some success in that Big Ten tournament. I want the NCAA tournament. You want to get to a Sweet 16. But it's been a long time since Iowa was successful in the Big Ten tournament, and I love the tournament. I love the Big Ten tournament. I was pretty, I don't want to say devastated. That's a hyperbolic, but I was upset 2 years ago when it got canceled. So I would love to see Iowa have some success, get to the championship game this year. That would be great.
Well, Corey, the final thing I will say is congrats on hitting 1,000 subscribers. You deserve it, man.
Well, I appreciate that, and appreciate everybody that helped make that happen, including yourself.
Well, I appreciate it. I told somebody in the chat, I don't think it's a coincidence that you hit 1,000 subscribers as soon as I stopped talking.
Hey, we hit 1,000 subscribers before March, and that was my goal, to hit 1,000 in March. So we did it before March. So thank you to everybody. And I give credit to Gary Close. Again, I say it all the time. One for Gary Close, and one for Jess and Les, and everybody we've had on the show, Frank Anderson. I mean, everybody we've had. I appreciate that. So thank you to everybody.
Yeah. And if you all want to congratulate them, I'm sure Corey will appreciate it if you hit the like button of this video.
Absolutely. Please hit the like button. It does still help, even though we're over 1,000.
Well, Corey, that's all I got for you. Good luck against Michigan. I hope you beat them by 50. And
wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, celebrate, man. Celebrate the good times.
All right, man. Appreciate the call as always. Go Hawks. All right. Appreciate that from Darrell MVP. And I want to answer this question. Our line is open, by the way, 515-635-1601. If you want to give us a call. Let me address this question. I didn't mean to skip this question, Ryan, and I apologize for not getting the question to Gary. It's a little bit tough when he's at the games. It's tough for me when I was at the game, but it's tougher for Gary because I don't want to take a lot of his time and he's having to call in. But I'll try my best to answer your question here, Ryan, if I can find it. Ryan says, Gary Close was on the staff when we made the Sweet 16 in 1999, which was the last time Iowa made the second weekend. Can we do it this year with a better defense and a legit superstar? In my opinion, I know you're probably looking for Gary's opinion, Ryan. In my opinion, this team can absolutely make the Sweet 16. I think the biggest key right now, besides just defense in general, the biggest key is, do they have a consistent trio of three-point shooters? And it doesn't have to be the same three every night, but do you consistently have three guys? Is Jordan going to be consistent at that time? Is it going to be Chris Murray as the second, Sanford? Maybe it'll be Patrick when he's back, or will it be Connor? The good news is they've got guys who are shooting the ball better, including Connor and Patrick. That only helps in March, but they've got to be able to shoot the three effectively and certainly defend. That's going to be the biggest thing. Every year, I mean, look back at the Oregon game, didn't defend, they got ran off the court. They can beat a 2 seed if all these guys are clicking. The offense right now is looking good. Keegan is playing at a different level. I don't see him slowing down once we hit tournament time. So, in my opinion, can they do it? That's your question. Can we do it? Yes. The answer is yes. Will they do it? That's certainly, it's matchup based. Iowa certainly, it'll be interesting to see where they get put as far as region. Will they get Milwaukee, which is, fairly close, and Iowa fans will no doubt travel, or will it be Buffalo, New York? I mean, that's another first round location. All those things play into this, and certainly who you play in that second round and seeding is just as important, if not more. Appreciate you calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hawkeye Howard.
Hawkeye Howard. Howard, man, it's been a while since I heard your voice, sir. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I've been down in Texas for a couple of weeks.
Where you at in Texas?
Helping down there. I was helping down there. They had a little ice storm, and so the company I work for had me go down there and help them get caught back up.
Awesome.
So,
what part of Texas, if you don't mind me asking?
Fort Worth. I was had runs out of Fort Worth and Arkansas, Louisiana. Was down in Houston. So, but I watched you. I watched your replays, and I've been kind of out of it and watched and kind of listened to everything in the past tense. So, but I got the game tonight. I have tonight off, and I thought we had a really good defense. I mean, defense was going good. What I heard, on the radio, because I've been working on the kitchen because doing remodeling. So I had the radio on and listened to the game, and I enjoyed, hearing, the defense that were, I mean, look at the steals. How many steals did we have?
How many steals? Let me grab that stat.
Steals. I'm in turn. And they did, right?
Yeah, so let me grab the numbers here, the steal numbers. So 15 turnovers for Northwestern, actually 11 for Iowa. That's surprising. I didn't think it was that high. Some of those I think came late, but yeah, 15 turnovers for Northwestern, 11 for Iowa, 10 steals for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah. Well, so that's pretty good. I mean, I thought the defense did pretty good. The rebounding was they seen the people calling the game said the rebounding was better. So I thought it was a really, really good game. I think they're getting ready. I think they're going good, as we all called it in the past. A March Madness is coming, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a great time of year. Let's hope there's plenty more hoops to. I mean, listen, I am not predicting an early exit for Iowa in the tournament, but they are in the tournament. Jordan brings up this. I guess ESPN Plus had Iowa moved as a lock. That's, I think, perfectly accurate. There's no question they're in right now. But let's just hope we can get a couple good games on the road, because, boy, you win 2 games on the road to finish the season, or at least one of these, even if you can win one of them. I think it'd be.
What games we have coming up? Michigan game, I know for one.
Yeah, Michigan, you got Illinois Sunday. And it's a quick turnaround to go from at Michigan Thursday to at Illinois Sunday. So they get an opportunity to build some serious confidence these next 2 games.
How do we lost to Michigan last time, but we played them really tough, though.
Yeah, that was a game that Iowa absolutely should have won. Let me pull up the score. 84-79 was the final. And, of course, that was really the start.
I think we're going to win that one.
That was the start of the streak they're currently on. They've won, of course, 4 straight since then. But Iowa had won 3 straight before that. So they've won 7 of 8 now. The Hawks have won 7 of 8 games. That's trending in the right direction at the right time.
Yes, that very much is trending in the right direction. You got the momentum. Now they just got to keep going one game at a time.
Yep, I agree, sir.
Now, watched this other video of the Nebraska game. Look at you, rubbing elbows with Jeff.
You like that? You like that?
Yes. When I watched him play, That shows my age.
Yeah.
And he was a star to us. So I was like, wow.
That was it was a privilege to be able to do that show with Jess, and he took the time and was gracious enough to do the show. And I give Gary close. Gary's the one who arranged that appearance from Jess, but Jess didn't have to do it there from the arena, and he volunteered to do it from. He's a great guy and a great voice. He does a tremendous job on the air. I would love it if Jess ends up being the next radio guy. And I think Bobby Hansen's got some years left in him, no question about it. But it'd be great to have Jess on the radio after that.
Yeah, I saw that the other day, and I was like, wow, look at Corey. So,
it was fun.
I just wanted to call and say you're doing a great job, and I want to remind everybody, we got a lot of people here in chat. Smash that like button.
Thank you, sir. Yes, smash it. Do it violently. Smash the like button.
Yes, just smash it. Everybody, just do it. All right. So I won't keep you very long, but I appreciate you taking my call. Go Hawks.
Thanks, Hawkeye Howard. Go Hawks. Appreciate the call. And and I do, again, I apologize to those that I didn't get to questions for Coach Close. Certainly save those questions, because we'll have him on. I think we'll have him on. He threw the curveball. I didn't know he was going to be in South Carolina. How about that? Jordan Samuelson, Jack Devlin is the manager's name. Boy, what a great moment for that young man, who I'm sure there were some tears from his parents and from his teammates. That was a tremendous moment to see him hit that half-court shot. Second attempt. Now, ESPN does have it. If you weren't at the game, ESPN has footage. So go on the ESPN app, look up the highlight of Jack Devlin hitting I think they have the highlight. Let me pull that up here. What an unbelievable moment to see him be mobbed by Fran McCaffrey, and to see the emotion on Coach McCaffrey was just a great moment. Okay. Call line is open. I want to get to a question here before we take our next call. Vincent, again, apologize that we didn't get to this with Coach Close. He says, as Iowa is solidly in the NCAA tournament, what do you feel, may be the weakness to address heading in? Does it concern you that we still struggle against teams with solid, good centers? Vincent, it doesn't, because, and I know the real Hayden, you brought the same thing up. Are we going to struggle against a team with a true big? I just don't think there are many teams out there that have real dynamic big men. If Iowa gets, first of all, they're not going to play Purdue in the second round. they will not play Michigan in the second round. They can't. They will not, because the tournament committee will not seed you to match up with someone who you've played twice in the second round. That's not going to happen. So those are two of the teams with the best centers. In Illinois, they won't play in the second round. So I'm not concerned about. I'm not saying there aren't other big men out there that are good or quality big men, but I think some of the best big men are in this conference. Iowa has found a way to defend. I thought Iowa did okay against Zach Edey. Zach Edey dealt with some foul trouble when he played Iowa both times, if I recall. They did okay with Teskey. Man, I'm living in the past. Hunter Dickinson. But we'll see. This is going to be two. I mean, you got two games here, Vincent. This is going to be the answer right here. This week, you play Michigan first with Hunter Dickinson, and you play Kofi Coburn at Illinois on Sunday. So this is a big week to answer your question. I just don't think. I think there's a good chance Iowa could get a seed, get a spot in the tournament where they're not really facing anybody like they've seen in the Big Ten as far as it relates to size. And to answer this other question, let me find this other question before we get to our caller here. And now I lost it. Well, let's get to our caller, and then we'll get back to the chat. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, Corey, this is Vincent. I think you kind of answered my question on both facets. But I agree with you. You're right. I think with Illinois coming up and Michigan, it's going to kind of give us a better view on how we're going to do against true bigs. And the reason I say that, Corey, is because when we've played Coburn, we've played Hunter Dickinson, Zach Edey, to me, it seems like we really struggle with a really solid five because we do a lot of collapsing down double teams, and we're leaving the perimeter and the three-point shot open. So that's my only concern heading into not the Big Ten tournament, because we know that those players are there in Coburn and Edey and Hunter Dickinson, but going into the NCAA tournament, if we get some favorable matchups, I think it's going to bode well for us to move past the second round. But that's my concern, and I agree with you. I think it's going to really show us over the next couple of games if it's a glaring weakness for us.
I'll give you a perfect example. Baylor is a perfect example. Now, do I want Iowa to play Baylor? I don't. But Baylor doesn't have a dominant center. So, I mean, I'm not saying I want them to play him in the second round, but Vincent, there's a lot of teams out there. A lot of these teams are playing small ball. They're playing like Iowa's playing. So I just don't fear it. Now, maybe they'll get matched up with someone with a tremendous big man. I remember last year, the first round of the tournament, they played Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon had a 7-footer who Iowa did. But, of course, Iowa had Luka Garza. I'm not going to worry about that. Again, we'll see. We'll get a good indication of defensive strategy this week with Coburn and Hunter Dickinson. But it's just that's the new way to play is to play a guy at center who's 6'8", 6'9", and I think Iowa will do just fine. I think Rebraca is playing a lot better than he did earlier in the year. He's not playing as well defensively as he was maybe in January, but specifically just defensively against big men. And he hasn't played anybody huge these last few weeks, but he's been doing just fine down low, and he's rebounding the ball well too.
Yeah, he's done a pretty good job. I do like the small ball as well. I think it just gives a better element to the transition game. But I just have to say that to me, from a viewer and a fan's perspective, it makes me nervous just given our record versus solid bigs on how we'll do come tournament time if we get matched up against, another solid big or a team with a solid big. My last question, I'll let you go, Corey. I know you saw the incident between Wisconsin and Michigan and Juwan Howard and what is Wisconsin's coach's name? Greg Gard. I'm sure you saw. You still there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Greg Gard.
Oh, did you see the scuffle part at the end, or did you just kind of watch the coaches' interaction?
You're talking about Michigan, Wisconsin?
Yes.
No, I watched the whole thing. I watched it back a bunch of times because I wanted to actually see what happened, and I wanted to actually look at the Big Ten with a microscope, because the Big Ten to me has been terrible at handling situations, decision-making, and they continue to be terrible, in my opinion. Coach Close was not very critical of it on the air, and I'm not doubting that actually feels. I was much more critical. I thought it was ridiculous that you have guys who are throwing haymakers get one game. I mean, what example does that set for a young man to be out. Literally, I mean, these guys. You could argue now. You may laugh at this, but you can argue those guys should be in jail for assault, or should have been charged with assault, and they're playing less than a week later. I just didn't agree with that, and I also didn't agree with Greg Gard not getting at least a game. If Greg Gard hadn't, I'm not saying he was the reason why Howard threw the punch, but if Greg Gard had just let Howard go, none of that would have happened. So he's got to be somewhat accountable. I don't care about a fine. He needs to be held accountable, and I just didn't agree with it.
You know, I'll give you a quick opinion on this. I think it was absolute. I could use a different word, but I'm not going to. Juwan Howard's reaction, you know, I get he doesn't like Greg Gard kind of grabbing him by the elbow to explain whatever, but Juwan Howard's reaction is just, that's like street stuff. I don't think there's any place for that in college athletics whatsoever, or in college basketball. And then to actually throw an open-handed smack at Krabenhoft, and for what reason? Anyway, just to kind of piggyback onto what you're saying, the players that threw punches or threw any kind of fist should have been gone for the rest of the season. I agree with you there. Howard's suspension, I honestly think he should have been gone because he already had an episode last year. I think it was either against Maryland or at Maryland with Mark Turgeon. So this is his second incident in 2 years. And if you don't come down, swiftly and harshly, who's to say Juwan Howard's not going to have another episode again next season? Well, this isn't the NBA where you act like clowns and then expect to get a fine and a suspension and come right back. This is the NCAA. Sorry, go ahead, Corey.
If he acts out again, I mean, I don't think it will happen, but if this were to ever happen again, he's gone. I would give the benefit of the doubt. You can't let the guy get away with. I mean, to me, he hadn't even been there that long. What's he been there, like 3 years?
Yep.
So no, I agree with you. I thought it was a light suspension for Gard. I thought it was a very light suspension for the players. I think back to the Malice at the Palace in Detroit. And I understand different circumstances. Those guys are pros. There were fans involved. There were more injuries involved. I get it. But those guys, like Ron Artest, was suspended for an entire season. I just
and these kids should be too. You know, if you don't come down and set an example for the players that are playing presently and the ones that are going to be playing in the future, if they just see a slap on the wrist, what do you think they're going to do if a circumstance like this arises again?
I agree. Yeah, we're in agreement. Before I let you go, if you have another question, Vincent, I want to thank Chase here for the super chat. Congrats on 1,000 subscribers. Thank you, Chase. Thank you for the donation. And yes, donation. You are open to make a donation either in the description, preferably in the description. If you go down to a link in the description of this video that says donate, it's a lesser fee. YouTube takes a fee for super chats and super stickers, but for anybody who is willing and has that in their heart to give, we certainly appreciate that, even if it's a super sticker or super chat. So you should see the little button below the video. So thank you, Chase, for that. All right. Sorry about that, Vincent.
No, you're good. Last thing I was just going to say is I watched that thing in its entirety. I think you might find it kind of funny, and you might watch it again just to see it yourself. But in all that melee with all the punches being thrown, with the whole scuffle, you know who the one player was who was standing about 20 feet away from the whole thing? Can you imagine who that might be?
Brad Davison.
Brad Davison, the one guy who's the dirtiest on the court, didn't want nothing to do with anything real deal on the court. I just thought it was kind of funny. You saw him backing away, making sure he had nothing to do with it. Thanks for the call, Corey. The one thing I did want to say that I think you're right on, when you have players that exhibit that kind of behavior on the court, and I saw law enforcement officials on the court right there trying to hold people back, to me, somebody should have been, and I know it's hard to do on national TV, but having criminal charges assessed to those guys really has to be something that's seriously looked at. And I'll just leave it with that. And thank you for the call, Corey.
Appreciate it, Vincent. Thank you for the call. And I respect your opinion if you feel that way. I don't know why players are exempt, coaches are exempt from criminal charges if you commit a criminal act, but this doesn't happen. I don't even know, did it happen with the Malice at the Palace? Maybe somebody can tell me. I don't think it did. Jordan brings up a good point. So you have the big man at Kentucky, and maybe that's what. So Darrell MVP, you can tell us about. Is it Shibwe? But yeah, not a lot of true centers out there. And Walker Kessler, right? Where is he at now? Is he at Auburn? He's out there as well. Yeah, so I mean, it's possible. It's possible that you're going to get a guy with a big man. Certainly Kentucky. Maybe Iowa gets Kentucky in the second round. Maybe Kentucky ends up being a 2 seed and Iowa draws them. Probably wouldn't be great. I would not. I don't want to play Kentucky in the second round. That would not be a team I'd choose. I also wouldn't want to choose Kansas in the second round. There's some good 2 seeds out there. If Iowa can get on that 6 line, boy, that'd be big, because then you get a 3 seed in the second round. No question about it. That would be big. But they got to win out. They got to win out to really feel good about their chances, in my opinion, to get a 6 seed. I know Lunardi's got him as a 6 seed now. I think if you lose, I think, first of all, he's on the high end of the spectrum. There's a lot of bracketologists, if you will, that don't believe that Iowa's a 6 seed right now. I don't necessarily think they are, but I'm not an expert by any means predicting brackets. But certainly there are, I can tell you this, there are a number of guys, a small number of teams that have big, really effective big men. Hyperlocal, good to see you here, sir. Best February since '81. It's great to be winning in February heading into March. Jordan, hot take: the Mountain West may be better than the ACC Pac-12 if you take away Duke and Arizona. I'm not totally sold on the Mountain West. If you watch my top 25 that actually makes sense on this channel, not totally sold on the Mountain West yet. I want to see what they do in the tournament. I know we shouldn't base everything on the tournament. Colorado State, Wyoming, Boise State, they've beaten up on each other. I think Colorado State has lost twice to an average UNLV team. But again, the Mountain West is a lot better than a lot of conferences out there. The real Hayden, what needs to happen for a double bye in the Big Ten tournament? Again, Iowa right now is 1 spot out of the double bye, 1 spot out of the fourth place in the Big Ten. So if Iowa wins out and Ohio State loses 1, okay, assuming we don't get in a 3-way tie scenario, which could happen because Michigan State is also involved. Assuming that doesn't happen, Iowa would have the tiebreaker over Ohio State and would get in. So Iowa just needs to get in that top 4. And right now they're 5th, just a half game back of Ohio State. Ohio State has 3 games left. Iowa has 2 games left. One of Ohio State's games, though, is against Nebraska at home. All 3 of their games are in Columbus. So that is a disadvantage if you're looking at Iowa, because Iowa has to go on the road for their final 2 games. Okay. See if I'm missing anybody. Our line is open here for a couple more moments, a couple more minutes here before we say goodnight. The real Hayden, talk about Caitlin Clark and the women's team for a minute. Wow, what a performance! She is absolutely unreal. I mean, I watched her yesterday. For the record, I know we don't talk about women's hoops a lot. I'm going to do my best to be doing shows after. I can't guarantee all of the postseason games for the women, but Caitlin Clark is so darn fun to watch. I don't even know how it's a question still that she's National Player of the Year. I know that there's Naz Hillman and the girl from South Carolina. Caitlin Clark is changing the game, and that's not an exaggeration. She is changing the women's game, very similar to how Steph Curry changed the men's game. And I, again, don't think that's an exaggeration. She is incredible. Team is just okay. I really think the team around her is okay. Monica Sonano is solid. Gabby Marshall solid. I mean, you can go down the list. They've dealt with injuries, and she has found, I'm talking about Caitlin Clark, she has found a way to lead that team to being co-champs of the Big Ten. Absolutely incredible. Lemansky, Hawkeye women are awesome. Absolutely are. What a fun team to watch, and what a great job by Lisa Bluter. Pat says double bye is not essential. Playing a weak team and getting confidence, getting acclimated to the venue are all valuable. That's that is a valid claim. Now, I don't know that I agree with it completely, Pat, but I respect your opinion on it. I understand it. Hopefully Iowa's just, if you win these last 2 games, even if you don't get double bye, if you win these last 2 games and you don't get the double bye, I would have to think that Iowa's still riding high from a confidence standpoint. But I understand what you're getting at there, Pat, and certainly I would give Iowa a chance against anybody in the Big Ten right now because they're hotter than anybody in the Big Ten. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
This is Jim.
Hey, Jim.
I just wanted to give you an update on Northwestern. Or Chris Collins in his post-conference said that they had a flu bout this week, and even Fran talked about Boo Boo. He only played 6 minutes, so he's sick. So
yeah,
I'm sure that hurt your energy level.
That does not. Yeah, that does not surprise me. And they played like they played like they were tired. I mean, they just didn't have any energy from the get-go.
Yeah,
So that's sort of
Northwestern.
go ahead.
I was just saying, Northwestern's been pretty competitive most of the year. So
Yes, they have.
But I had one comment on that incident in Wisconsin. Why didn't he just not even get in the line if he was going to do that blow by?
That's a good question. I don't have an answer. I think he wanted. First of all, I think he wanted to say something to Guard because remember he said to Greg Guard, "I'll remember that." I think he wanted to say something. I mean,
because he wasn't even going to look him in the eye when he walked by, and then that Guard, poked him in the arm there. But
well, no, remember he did. But before Greg poked him in the arm, Juwan Howard looked at Guard and said, "I'll remember that." He did say that. He admitted to saying that before any physical contact was initiated. He did make that statement to Greg Guard. I think that's why he was in the handshake line. And I understand the people who, including Fran McCaffrey, who say we shouldn't have the handshake line. I go back and forth on it, but you're right. If he had, maybe he didn't have an intent. I mean, I think he's got an issue with his temper right now. There's no question about that. People get after Fran McCaffrey for his temper. I've never seen Fran get physical with anybody, and it appears that Juwan Howard has a bit of an anger issue, and it needs to be resolved.
Fran's gotten with a chair and maybe a clipboard, but
yeah, that's fine. Break a chair, break a clipboard. I've seen him kick water. I've seen him slam the scorer's table. I've seen him throw his suit. Fine. Listen. You may say he's got anger issues and he needs to go to counseling. First of all, I think he's toned it down in recent years. I've had people comment that to me as well. But I don't have a problem with passion. But just, you can't get physical with people. And I don't think Fran ever does. I think he knows the line. And I don't think Juwan Howard currently does know the line that he's crossing.
My issue with Howard was if he gets upset about the timeout, the reason he called the timeout is because he was pressing their guys. And the game's over with. The competitive part of the game's over with. Why is he in their grill? Just let him enter it, and you back off. The game's over, and you shake hands.
Yeah, I think it's kind of the pot calling the kettle black because Juwan Howard is upset because Greg Guard called a timeout, but he called a timeout because your team's still playing. So why shouldn't their team still play? I see it both ways.
Right.
I also see it the other way though, because if you're a Wisconsin fan, you say, look, or excuse me, if you're a Michigan fan, you say, the timeout was not necessary. Just take the shot clock violation. You're up by like 15. Right. So I see it both ways.
Both coaches were guilty of just being petty, I thought.
Oh, absolutely. No, Greg Guard should have gotten suspended at least a game. That's my opinion. Greg Guard should have been suspended at least. I'm not a big Greg Guard fan. I don't know Greg, but I just not a big Greg Guard fan. I've never been a big Juwan Howard fan. Juwan Howard complains to the officials more than almost any other Big Ten Big Ten coach other than Tom Izzo and Mark Turgeon, who now is no longer a coach in the Big Ten, but he's constantly complaining to the officials, ripping people. And I don't think personally, I don't think he's great for the conference. I know he's a legend in this conference, is part of obviously a legendary team in Michigan, but to me, he's got some issues and he needs to get them resolved. He's going to have some time now. If he costs his team the tournament as a result of his meltdown, then you have, even if he doesn't, even if they still make the tournament, to me, there needs to be a no tolerance policy from now on out, from here on out with Juwan Howard. And I may even, if you want to call it a personnel issue, that's fine. But I would make sure that Juwan Howard goes through counseling, does whatever he needs to do behind the scenes, because you want him here. He's done a good job as the head coach, but you cannot have him setting this example for his players. And when those players, you knew as soon as Juwan Howard swung at that Wisconsin assistant, you knew he had lost his team. Those players were gonna go to bat for their head coach, and that's on Juwan Howard. The players are responsible. Those are adults. We call them kids. They're adults. They're legally adults. So those guys have to be held accountable. That's why I think they should have been suspended more than a game. But ultimately, Juwan Howard sets a standard, and right now he's not setting a very good example.
Right. I see that Davidson kept up his reputation with that elbow to Hunter Dickinson when he's trying to set that pick.
He's a dirty, filthy player. He's a dirty, filthy player who shouldn't be allowed in the league. He shouldn't be allowed in the league. It's an absolute disgrace to the league that Brad Davison has been allowed to pull the garbage that he has pulled week after week after week after week. He does it constantly. And then you have the statement from Wisconsin. And for the record, I'm not trying to defend Juwan Howard's actions, but I also think it's ridiculous that Chris McIntosh, who's a fresh AD in the Big Ten at Wisconsin, he comes forward and basically says that, well, we were just trying to, Greg was just trying to de-escalate the situation. If you're trying to de-escalate, there's this term fight or flight. And if you understand what that means, you either are fighting or you're going away. And I don't think pushing a guy, whether you say, well, you're trying to explain yourself, that's fine. De-escalating is not what Greg Gard did. And the fact that Chris McIntosh didn't put any onus on Greg at all, completely deflected any level of responsibility to anybody. He didn't acknowledge the kid for Wisconsin that got suspended for a game for throwing a punch or punches. He just, everything was looking the other way. And to me, it's a terrible example. But it doesn't surprise me. I tweeted that out after the game. It doesn't surprise me that Chris McIntosh would take that stance, because they've repeatedly taken that stance, whether it be Barry Alvarez or now with Chris McIntosh. They've repeatedly taken that stance with Brad Davison doing nothing. And the Big Ten has done nothing, really. I know he's gotten suspended, I think, once, right? Maybe twice. But the fact of the matter is, Brad Davison has done dirty and dangerous things in this conference for the past 5 years, and I think it's a disgrace.
Yeah, it's kind of a shame to see that stuff like that. Yeah, that Wisconsin AD in that press conference, he was almost in tears. He was so upset about that.
I know. That's fine. You can be upset. Yeah, I understand him being upset, but then, listen, I just think I think people need to realize, especially the adults in this situation, they need to realize you got to take some responsibility. And then to hear him say, well, we've got a coach injured. We've got a coach injured in the face. That's what he said, an injured in the face. I don't buy it. I just, it doesn't make it okay what Juwan Howard did, but I saw no accountability from Wisconsin's adults at all.
Yeah, that coach for Wisconsin actually played here in Sioux Falls. So
yeah, he's got Iowa roots. Absolutely. Well, South Dakota.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you go and enjoy your program.
All right, sir. Appreciate the call. Have a nice night.
You too.
Appreciate the call there. And I want to address this. People are going to get upset about this. Drill MVP says Iowa has no chance, no shot against Gonzaga or Kentucky. Look, and I really haven't watched Kentucky very much. I saw Gonzaga get beat pretty soundly against St. Mary's the other night. I'm not saying that they would beat them, but to say no shot, I don't like the ultimatums to Real MVP. But you have a right to your opinion, and I respect that. Eric says, I'm going to go out on a limb and say this team is better than last year's team. You can make that argument. We'll see what they do in the tournament, because I think they might be more equipped to perform well in the tournament this year than they were last year. As crazy as that sounds, because they have the athleticism to match up, I think, with more teams. The Real Hayden brings up Mobley. Yes, the Mobley brother that's still at USC. Absolutely, he could be a concern. If Clark doesn't win, I agree with you all, Thumbs. It's ridiculous if Clark does not win National Player of the Year. Absolutely. You want to do a bracket stream with me, I see, Drill MVP. You want to do a bracket stream. Does this mean you're going to be on camera for this, Drill MVP? Should we do that? Do people want to see Drill MVP on camera? We can talk about that later. Sharon, Connor shooting better. Anyone notice now his shot has more arch on it? Not so flat. Go Connor. That's a good observation. And he had at least a 3 or 2 today that were kind of darts, lasers, and of course they were misses. That's a good observation, though. I'd love to ask Coach Close that question, because we talked about him earlier in the year. We talked about Connor's struggles from 3. I'd love to get Gary's input on that. Hopefully we're talking about another really good performance on Thursday from Connor McCaffrey. That'd be tremendous. Kurt, Scott Van Pelt on ESPN is about to show the half-court shot made by the Iowa manager. That is awesome, and I'm sure that's going to be on Scott Van Pelt's best thing he saw tonight. That is tremendous. I'm not sure this. I haven't seen this yet. All Thumbs are referring to Kentucky walking out the floor with more time on the clock. I'll have to look that up later. BJ, good to see you here as well. I think Michigan will be better coached without him the next game versus us. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think it's a disadvantage until I'm proven otherwise. But certainly, again, leadership is lacking in Ann Arbor right now in the basketball room or coaching staff, if you will. Thank you for calling from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Who's on the line?
Hey, this is Anthony.
Hey, Anthony.
Just want to comment. Really love your show. I'm a fan that goes to a lot of games, And when I get out of the game, it's like I want a little bit more. So it's been so much fun listening to you and Coach Close all year long. So
Thank you very much.
Thank you for that.
No, absolutely.
Man, it's been such a fun season. I feel like, there's been these games where, all our bench players have really popped off and gained like a lot of confidence. Like Tony last game, I feel like he was really due for one. And I don't know, just your comments on that, like the team really developing.
Are you still with me, caller?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You cut out there for a second. No, I absolutely agree. It was great to see Tony erupt. You saw him really, just his confidence level's got to be a lot higher now. I know he didn't play great tonight. I know he had a couple steals. I'm trying to find his final numbers. He was good tonight, but again, he's not going to get you 20 every night, but you're always going to get energy and defense from Tony Perkins. And it is encouraging to see Tony and Connor prove they can actually shoot, prove they can actually score, because you're right. But to have those multiple weapons in the tournament, you at some point you're going to have to get somebody who's consistent enough to be able to give you 10 to 15 on any given night, other than Keegan and Patrick McCaffrey. And we've seen it from everybody. We've seen it from Chris this year. We've seen it from Jordan Bohannon, from Tony Perkins, now Connor. We even saw it from Rabracha during January. So I'm with you. I think the ceiling for this team might be higher. You can make the argument the last team, the ceiling was higher because of all the shooters. Defensively, though, they were what they were. That wasn't going to change. This team has the athleticism to play better man-to-man defense and certainly get up in transition a bit more. That is an advantage. And I think you can make the argument Keegan Murray is a more complete player than Luka Garza. Maybe that's crazy. Maybe that's heresy. I don't know. But I think that's certainly an argument you can make. So, I wholeheartedly agree. They're coming on at the right time in a lot of different aspects.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the last maybe month, maybe February, the game's slowed down so much for Keegan. You can just tell when there's one man on him, he can just take it to the rack. And you don't really even see that out of Jalen Ivey all the time. Maybe they're my other favorite player in the Big Ten. So Anyway, I just wanted to call in and say thank you. And I'm going to keep listening to the podcast.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your listening. Appreciate you calling.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Take care. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with our caller, and it'll be interesting to see, can Iowa continue to defensively do what they did against Ohio State, against Michigan State? Because I'm not reading into anything tonight. That's the Northwestern team that was obviously depleted. They lacked energy for whatever reason, whether it was the flu. We had a caller bring that up earlier. I guess Chris Collins made a comment after the game about that. Whether it was that or something else, the fact of the matter is Iowa did not play a Northwestern team that was real ready to go today. Iowa's going to have its hand full. So you're going to get we're going to know a lot more of these next two games, because Iowa struggled mightily to defend Michigan last time out. And they traditionally struggle mightily against Illinois defensively. We're going to have a great indication of where this team is Thursday night and Sunday night. Absolutely. All right, folks. Final couple comments here. Gator Raider, good to have you here, sir. I'm assuming a sir. Iowa sports has been doing so good lately. Football, wrestling, men's and women's basketball all look amazing. Oh, wait, isn't that the truth? Wrestling still's got a chance to bring home a team title. Vincent, Fran loses an All-American, 2 NBA draft picks, Nunji to Xavier, and a Kentucky collusion case with C.J. Frederick, and Fran has Iowa ranked and sitting at 21-8. I appreciate this dose of reality from Vincent, because I believe that Fran McCaffrey right now is the coach of the year in the Big Ten. If you had asked me a month ago who the Big Ten player of the year was, I probably would have said either Johnny Davis or Jaden Ivey. Now I think it's probably either Johnny Davis or Keegan Murray. I mean, I definitely wouldn't have said that a month ago, but Keegan Murray has been so efficient and so consistent. And we keep saying it week after week, game after game. It's been impressive what he's been doing. So, no question about it. This is a good win for the Hawks. That you're going to have to ramp it up, because you have a fairly quick turnaround to go on the road Thursday, and then of course on the road Sunday, and then you get to the Big Ten tournament. Hopefully, they can get a double bye. Get a double bye, then they won't play till Friday of the Big Ten tournament week. If not, you'll play Thursday, and you'll still have 4 days off. But it's time to be in prime physical condition, because the competition ramps up fast, ramps up hard, and Iowa's going to be tested. But overall, again, recap: Iowa defeating Northwestern 82-67. Keegan Murray, 26 points, 18 rebounds. What a game for Iowa's All-American, and he is most likely going to be a lottery pick, most definitely going to be a first-round draft pick. If he leaves this year, I think he's got a good chance of being a lottery pick. It's just a tremendous. I was, again, disappointed. I mentioned it earlier. I was disappointed not to see a packed house. That was the only thing that I walked away disappointed with tonight. I thought more fans could have shown up. But again, I guess I'm no one to talk, because this is my first time at Carver this year. But I do live a couple hours away. That is a factor, I'll admit. Jordan Bohannon with 18 points tonight as well. A good night for him. Connor McCaffrey, what a night for the senior, who I do believe will be back. I'm just guessing. I don't know. I don't have any inside information on this. I think Connor McCaffrey will be back next year. I think that's a great thing, because defensively he's playing the best basketball of his life, and now he's shooting better than he probably has all year. So that is a great thing. And the Real Hayden, thank you for this compliment. I enjoy doing these shows. And now that we've hit 1,000 subscribers, our donation option is available. So you're more than welcome to donate. Much appreciated, and appreciate everybody tuning in here this evening. So a final reminder for anybody wondering, we are here after every Iowa basketball game. We were not here after the Michigan State game this past week, and I apologize for that. We had a scheduling conflict that just wasn't going to work on Tuesday evenings. But Iowa, Michigan this following Thursday, we will be with you. So Iowa versus Michigan from Ann Arbor. And I tell you, this is going to be a game where it's going to be a litmus test again. To have to play your final two games on the road, one against a team who's desperate in Michigan, the other against maybe the best team in the Big Ten. You could make that argument in Illinois. I think that's what you want heading into the tournament. Yes, I know you don't have the possibility of building wins. They've won 7 of their last 8. Now's the opportunity to get another couple of quality wins. Because right now Iowa has 2 quad 1 wins, maybe just 1 officially, that Ohio State game. Virginia's on the outside of the quad 1 status. Utah State is as well, and I think Michigan State might have moved back in. I'm not a quad expert. I don't follow it as close as maybe I should. I check it here and there. But the point is, Iowa, if you win at Michigan, that's likely a quad 1 win. I'd have to look at it to confirm that. If you win at Illinois, that's most definitely a quad 1 win. So certainly an opportunity for Iowa to get 2 really marquee victories this week. All right, Iowa, Michigan, Thursday, March 3rd. This Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Time on Fox Sports 1. If you have not already done so, please subscribe. Turn the notifications on this channel to get alerts when we go live and when we post new content. We will be back following the game for Iowa Postgame after Iowa and Michigan. Take care all, and have a great night.